Dear friends, long life, let's live long and happily. Today we are going to continue our discussion about the global planetary positive mutation of the humanity at the DNA level. In the previous video, I brought up some scientific discoveries and facts that underlie this phenomenon. Actually, there is an enormous number of these facts. You can immerse yourself into the subject and study specialized literature which is never to be found, or check some popular sources. Personally, I really like what the academician Mironova says. Well, I used some of her data in the previous video. This is not a question, though. The question is why we need it, what to do with this information, and what is actually happening. Because, as we can see, the modern mass media have reached an insurmountable height where they can artfully force us to believe that black is white and vice versa. Therefore, all information, all facts are open for us. There's a lot of information. The question is how to structure it and understand what is actually happening. So let's move on. I didn't continue this topic in previous video because it was already too long. As I learned from experience, a person doesn't watch anything or perceive any information for longer than 30 minutes. Even 30 minutes is quite long. Today, with all these Instagrams and a la Instagram syndromes, as I call it, a person is able to really perceive information for around a minute. That's why all videos in Instagram are around 1 minute long. So, let's think about what is happening now. Because all the phenomena, the pandemic, and everything that is currently happening with the world economy, and what will be happening in autumn financially, we are going to see convulsions we have never seen before, and every time various respectable experts and opinion leaders will tell us about the situation, like, yes, this is happening for the first time ever. Yes, these things are unusual, but we already understand something is happening. Even if we don't understand, we can feel it. Most probably every single one of us is feeling how global and life-altering are the current events. So the purpose of these two videos I'm making, the previous one and today's, is an attempt to wake people up and tell them, my dear friends, don't wait for everything to be back. Why am I saying this? Because in all the interviews I've been recently invited, people ask me questions which can basically be divided in two groups. What will happen and when will it all end? Please understand, the globality of these changes that have recently started and are still taking shape, it has never happened before in the history of the humanity. From my point of view, it is stupid to expect that tomorrow some super talented president or some scientists will find a way out of the situation. Why? Because, as I already said in the previous video, all of us are undergoing global changes inside of our minds. Of course, everyone is experiencing them differently. Again, you might want to learn more and find some scientific sources to go into this subject deeper. I'm just trying to make you understand it in simple words. In books, they will explain to you in terms of science about some blocks of DNA that are mutating. One way in certain people, another way in other people, etc., etc. This is not so important anyway. What is important is that we are changing in accordance with our vibrations. Therefore, vibrations are our thoughts. Vibrations are what we think and where our subtle energy goes. And this is what is happening to us. These changes are only gaining pace. Believe me, we are at the doorstep of global changes of everything that exists on Earth. So my purpose is very simple. The more people we can wake up in this sleeping coach, the less trouble the humanity will experience in the future. Why? Because people are worried a lot because of many circumstances. In particular, many are concerned by so-called vaccination with global chipization. I'm not going to talk about it now, I will repeat it one more time. I'm not a conspiracy theory supporter. Of course, it is true that many governments will try to take advantage of the situation to assert their power. But this is what any power is. They want to become somewhat absolute. They want to stay forever and be absolute. So, yes, this situation will certainly be exploited. But what we can do, we can stop talking about all the time. We do not need to focus our attention on it. It doesn't mean we're going to behave like an ostrich, put our heads in the sand and pretend that nothing is going on. No, it's just that more you talk about something, the more attention you pay to something, the more bad things might happen to all of us. So yes, strange as it seems, and I already said it in the previous video, it's very important where you direct your subtle emanation of your brain. At this moment, it immediately becomes something material. Currently, you should think before you think. Before you think, not before you do or say something. This is what I'm trying to tell you, my friends. First, please do not overload yourself with any information. I had said it in the very first video, which, by the way, had 40,000 views, but then was blocked for some reasons. But I already translated this because so many people were asking me about where to watch, but they couldn't. It was blocked because I said the word coronavirus. The mass media lurch from one extreme to other. In that video, I was trying to encourage people not to watch or read any statistic about how many people got infected or died. This is not your story. This is a story about fear they are trying to impose on you. This is how they are trying to get you personally closer to the disease. This disease does not only activate some new processes in your body, it also accelerates all the old chronic disorders you've got. Nobody knows how exactly this person is going to experience it. That's why I said and keep saying, don't watch, don't focus on it. You are where your life energy flows. You are where your attention is. What is happening in your mind is happening with you. So going back to the questions about whether we're going to be vaccinated or not, whether we're going to be microchipped or not, the more of us will wake up. The more of us will emanate the energy of joy, confidence, harmony, and balance. The more of us will cover the energy of fear and insecurity and all those low vibrations, which, by the way, allow powers that be, no matter who they are, to do whatever they want to us. As soon as we are in that condition of weakness, we will come and ask to vaccinate us or microchip us ourselves. But if we are going to emanate totally different information, totally different vibrations, believe me, any power will think twice about the consequences before doing something like this or even suggest it. So, the more of us wake up, the higher our vibrations are, the sooner we will reach the golden era of humanity. This is where we are all going. So don't be scared, don't be afraid of anything. It's necessary to destroy some old things to build something new. It's impossible to build something new on an old rotten foundation, creaking at the seams and falling apart. Something new, beautiful, something that the humanity deserves. Because, again, we are undergoing global changes, like all these recent discoveries of astrophysicists say, the shift of the magnetic grid of Earth that has already happened. Plasma fire out of M87 black hole portal over Earth. after which the mass of hydrogen, the basic element, has changed and the mutation of DNA has started. In other words, everything is changing. We are changing internally and externally, from the inside and on the outside. The history around us is changing too, because weird enough, our thoughts, our vibrations, and our perception of reality, everything is changing. If everyone comes down and completely balanced, asks themselves, what was I a few months ago? What was my perception? And compare it with what is happening now, you will see a huge difference. So I am calling upon all of you. People are weird. You know, when my father died, there was a priest who was performing a funeral service. He said that the problem of all people is that they all think that they will live forever. And this is what they build their lives around. I'm not telling you to always remember you can die at any moment. No, you don't need to think about it all the time. But it must be understood. Our concept of life should be based upon this understanding that we live now every minute of every day, and it matters what we are making of this particular moment of our life, not what we will make out of it one day. No, don't live on credit. Don't live in the future. It's not here yet. Let's think about what we can give the world right now. Let's get rid of all our emanations of fear, panic, and insecurity, because this is exactly what let them take advantage of us. If we have totally different thoughts and vibrations, believe me, everything will be all right. Everything will be good. Nobody will be able to do anything to us. The more positive vibrations we have, the sooner we will be able to make this transition, or whatever you call it, because, like I said in the previous video, and it's confirmed by many scientific facts, that our DNA, already multidimensional, is transiting to an even more multidimensional state. It means that the transition from a three-dimensional reality to four- and even five-dimensional one is already going on in full swing. Don't wait for something in particular to happen. You can't even remember what was happening a few months ago. Rewind the events and you will see how global and epoch-making these changes are. This globality is only gaining pace. That is why I'm saying September is going to be a very hard month. The global financial system is going to be dismantled. It will also be gaining pace. Then things will come to a standstill by the end of the year. Then it will start gaining pace again. You should be morally prepared for it and ready to accept it. As strange as it might seem, those who will accept it will go through it painlessly. Why? What does multidimensionality mean? It means that every single one of us starts living in their own reality. It's hard to realize it due to all the classical knowledge we've been taught since our primary school, high school, university. That knowledge was confirmed by our whole life, but everything has changed globally. Now we're transitioning to the multidimensionality, where you can be next to a person. Well, one person can exist in his or her three-dimensional matrix, and you can choose a totally different matrix for yourself, still being in contact with this person. Well, I will not overload you with this now, my friends. The purpose of these two videos is only to shake and wake up the maximum number of people and try to tell them that all the changes we're experiencing are happening not only outside but also inside us, and we need to accept them. We need to accept them gratefully and understand that there are forces other than government, authorities. There are processes that are much bigger and not yet perceivable for us, because we don't believe. Even dying, one doesn't believe they're dying. They still think there is something else instead. Somehow everyone believes everything will become stable again. But a few minutes before one leaves their perishable body, they are shown their whole life and all mistakes they made. In fact, there is nothing global in it. A person is just waiting his or her own life, and they regret bitterly, and they are not told, it's your fault, you are a sinner. No, they are told, look, My friend, you had a chance. There was something you had come for and something you had to realize, but you missed it. Wait for another one then. My friends, let's do our best here and now. Let's wake up and boost our vibrations. Let's move forward and let the others follow us. Love you all.